You've been lied to about democracy. You've been told it's the best system, the only way forward. But what if I told you Aristotle saw it as a corruption? What if the system we defend today was the very thing he warned us about? Tonight we're diving into one of the most misunderstood ideas in political philosophy, how Aristotle's vision of government challenges everything we assume about power, stability, and the role of the people. Alright, so picture this. It's ancient Greece, democracy is in full swing, and Aristotle is sitting there like the grumpy political analyst of his time, absolutely not buying into the hype. To him, the polis, the city-state, wasn't just a place with laws and politicians, it was the foundation of a good life. Humans, he argued, are naturally political animals, meaning we don't just live in a society, we need it to be fully human. Unlike modern governments, which focus on borders and bureaucracy, Aristotle saw the polis as something organic, something that grows from households to villages to full-fledged political communities. And within that polis, citizenship wasn't just about having rights. It was about actively shaping the government. But before you start thinking Aristotle was the original champion of democracy, hold on. In his view, not everyone was cut out for politics. Only free, property-owning men were true citizens. Women, slaves, and manual laborers? Yeah, they didn't make the cut. Aristotle believed these groups didn't have the time or rational capacity for political participation, so he basically benched them from the game of governance. So what kind of government did Aristotle actually like? He broke them down into three good types: monarchy, rule by one; aristocracy, rule by a few virtuous elites; and polity, a mix of democracy and oligarchy where power is shared responsibly. But here's where things take a turn. Each of these had a dark side. Monarchy could decay into tyranny, aristocracy into oligarchy, and polity into, well, democracy. But not the kind we celebrate today. Aristotle saw democracy as mob rule in disguise, a system where the majority could trample over wisdom and virtue just because they had the numbers. Unlike his teacher Plato, who dreamed of a perfect government run by philosopher-kings, because putting all the power in the hands of nerds has never gone wrong, Aristotle was more practical. He believed that no system was perfect. Each polis had to tailor its government to its own needs. That said, he did have a favorite polity, the Goldilocks of governments, striking a balance between the chaotic masses and the greedy elite. But Aristotle wasn't just interested in how governments worked. He cared about why they existed in the first place. He saw politics and ethics as inseparable. The purpose of government wasn't just to enforce laws or prevent crime, but to cultivate virtue among its citizens. He wanted the state to help people achieve eudaimonia, or the highest form of human flourishing. In other words, a good government doesn't just tell people what not to do, it encourages them to be better. If this sounds a little idealistic, that's because it is. Later thinkers like Machiavelli were much more cynical, treating politics as a brutal game of power. But Aristotle? He believed that laws should do more than maintain order. They should shape moral character. Whether that actually works, well, let's just say history has been iffy on that point. Now, Aristotle wasn't naive. He knew that governments, even the best ones, could collapse if they weren't stable. That's why he put so much emphasis on avoiding extremes. If the rich controlled everything, the poor would rise up. If the poor had too much power, they'd make reckless decisions that could destroy the state. His solution? A strong middle class. People who had enough wealth to be stable, but not so much that they became corrupt. He saw the middle class as the backbone of a healthy polity, balancing the needs of both the elites and the lower classes. Sound familiar? Modern democracies still wrestle with these same issues: income inequality, populism, and the struggle to keep power balanced. Aristotle's advice? Keep things mixed. Let different groups have a say, and don't let any one class run the show. Even though Aristotle lived over 2,000 years ago, his ideas shaped centuries of political thought. The Romans borrowed heavily from his mixed government theory, which later influenced thinkers like Montesquieu when he developed the idea of separating powers. And while Aristotle was skeptical of democracy in his time, his ideas about balance, political stability, and virtue-driven governance laid the groundwork for modern constitutional systems. That said, not everything he said aged well. His rigid class system and exclusionary views on citizenship definitely don't align with modern democracy. But if there's one thing we can take away, it's his belief that government should serve the common good rather than just the interests of the rich or the mob. At the end of the day, Aristotle's Politics isn't just some dusty old text. It's a blueprint for thinking about power, governance, and stability. He didn't believe in a one-size-fits-all government, and he understood that politics is a balancing act. Whether it's ancient Athens or today's world, the same challenges remain. How do we keep government stable? How do we prevent corruption? How do we ensure that power serves the people rather than the other way around? Aristotle didn't have all the answers, but his insights still spark debates thousands of years later. So what do you think? Is democracy really the best system, or is Aristotle's skepticism something we should take seriously? I'll leave you to discuss in the comments. You can support us by subscribing if you haven't already. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and I'll catch you soon in another video.